Hey guys, hoping all is well with everyone. So in this video we're going to be continuing with chapter 3. This is lesson 3.2, comparing to order 4, 5, and 6 digit numbers. So in the last section with 3.1 we stayed with the idea that all of our numbers were the same number of digits, being 6 digits. But in this lesson we are going to want to be a little bit more careful, because we're going to have numbers that are not all 6 digits. But that being said, we can use the same strategy to compare and order these numbers. We just have to really be vigilant and watchful of the place values that we're looking at to compare the numbers. One thing to keep in mind too, to make our lives a little easier, is if we're comparing two numbers and they're different numbers of digits, so like for example, if we're comparing a 4-digit number and a 6-digit number, the higher number of digits will always be a larger number. That helps us kind of right off the bat. But when we're looking at numbers that are the same number of digits, we can use that strategy that we did last time with 3.1 and compare the numbers or the digits specifically in the corresponding place values that give us enough detail to order and rank these numbers. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop into the step-in question. So it says Blake is watching some friends play a video game. They ask him to quickly record the number of points that they each score. Which player has the greatest number of points? How do you decide? So the cat here with the headband says that the places are not lined up, so I will have to think carefully about the value of each digit. Tip number 1. The highest number of digits will automatically make the highest value. So I don't want to just kind of jump into it like that, but one thing to keep in mind is if we have numbers here and we have a 6-digit number versus a 4-digit number or a 5-digit number, this 6-digit number is going to be greater regardless of what place values we look at, because the 6-digit number has a place value of 100,000. Okay, so that right there is going to give us the greatest value of points in this case. Dorothy's really good at this video game. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Jacob, but I'm also curious to how points are scored in this game, but regardless. So Dorothy has the greatest number of points. Maybe Jacob was just having a bad day. Okay. Trust me, I've been there, where you just playing video games and it's just not your day. So the next question says, how could you compare the number of points that Morgan and Antonio scored? So one of the things I mentioned in the last video was when you're comparing two numbers, one of the things that you want to do is take it out of the table, or kind of make the two numbers, like put them off to the side, so it's easier to compare them directly very close to each other. Again, like the cat said, these numbers aren't even like lined up, so it's not really doing too many favors for us. So let's look at Morgan, who had 41,207, and we have Antonio, who scored 45,712. So, like we did in the last section, these are two 5-digit numbers. Now, as you can see, in the 10,000s place, which is the 4 here and the 4 here, so kind of recall here your, I'll kind of just do the 10,000s place through, so you have 10,000s place, you have the thousands place, you have the hundreds place, you have the tens place, and then you have the ones place. Those are the place values that we're going to be looking at specifically with this question, or these two numbers. So what we're going to do, like last time, we'll start in the 10,000s place, but we're going to see that since they're the same, it doesn't provide enough information for us to see who got the greater score. So we'll go to the thousands place and we'll see that there is a difference. So we have 1 in the thousands place for Morgan and 5 in the thousands place for Antonio. So since the thousands place is higher in Antonio's number than Morgan's, Antonio is going to have the greater score. And again, we always want to start with the highest place value possible and work our way towards the right or towards the smaller place value. So this next question says complete also. So which values would you look at to help you decide who has more? The thousands place the digits corresponding to the 1 to the thousands place. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now it says to complete each statement to compare the points that Morgan and Antonio scored. Now, when you're comparing two things, you don't want to compare them to other individuals or other values besides the two that you're looking at specifically. So what I mean by that is when we're doing inequalities here, remember those inequality symbols. So the greater than sign is where the crocodile's mouth points or goes to the left. The less than symbol is going to be where the crocodile's mouth goes to the right. So when we're comparing these two, the names that are going to be in each of these two scenario boxes are going to be either Morgan or Antonio. And then we just have to figure out who is on what side. So because Morgan scored less, that means that Antonio's score was greater than Morgan's. Okay, so this inequality is true because 45,712 is greater than 41,207. Okay, now we're going to kind of flip-flop the scenario. We're going to see which value is less than the other value, but we're using the same numbers because we're comparing the same individuals. So because Morgan's score was smaller than Antonio's, we're going to say that Morgan's score was less than Antonio's. So, sorry, that sounds exactly, just repeated the same thing. This inequality is in a less than perspective versus the previous one, which is a greater than perspective. So you can see how the names switched places based on which side of the inequality they needed to be on to make the statement true. Okay. Okay. So again, this is just showing you that whenever you're looking at comparing two things, you can always compare them in two different ways. You can say which number is greater than another or which value is less than another. Okay. Let's look at, so this one is going to be looking at all of the players in general and comparing two players at a time. So what I'm going to do here, just to kind of save time, instead of having to scroll back up and down each time, is I'm just going to put all their scores in here, and that will allow us to kind of stay at the bottom of the page. So Morgan. Okay. Antonio got 45,712. Jacob got 8,950. Poor Jacob. And then Dorothy got 100,060. Okay, so now what we're going to do is compare each of the situations A through D, but again, focusing on each individual. Now, one thing that they have kind of brought to our attention here is we're looking at a different number of possible multi-digit numbers. So in this first case with A, we have a 5-digit number and a 4-digit number. It does not matter which place value we specifically look at. because the number with the greater number of place values will always be higher. So since this is a number with 5 place values, being that this has the 10,000th place, and this number only has 4 place values, being the thousandth place as its highest, this Morgan's score will automatically be larger. Okay, so again, it's not going to matter. This is a situation where if the number of digits between the two numbers are not the same, we can always just go to which one has the higher number of digits, because that higher number of digits indicates that there is a higher place value in that number that does not exist in the smaller number. Okay. For letter B, so we have a 4-digit number with Jacob's score, and Dorothy's score is a 6-digit number. So because the highest place value that Jacob has is the thousandth place, and Dorothy's highest place value is the 100,000th place, being a 6-digit number, then Dorothy's score will automatically be higher. Again, this is really important that we don't focus on any comparison of place values, because it's not going to make any difference if the 100,000th place in Dorothy's score is present over one that doesn't exist in Jacob's score. Okay, so that's one of the big differences between this section and last section. Antonio's score was a 5-digit number, so its highest place value will be the 10,000th place, but Dorothy's score again has a highest place value of 100,000s, so her score will automatically be greater than Antonio's score. And then last but not least, kind of the same situation. Sorry, this is supposed to be a comma. Dorothy's score has a highest place value of 100,000s as a place, and then Morgan's is 10,000 in the 10,000th place. So Dorothy again automatically has a greater score, which again proves our first answer to the questions above with who got the greatest score, greatest number of points. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the next page. So this one kind of focuses again on kind of what we saw last time. These are going to be a group of 6 players, and they played a game or a competition of some sort, and their points were recorded on the notepad, and we're trying to figure out who has the most points, who has the fewest points, and we're going to go over the strategies to compare the different players to one other player individually. Okay, so question 2A says who has the most points. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is who has the highest place value, or whose score has the highest number of digits. So what I'm going to do here, just to show, is that this is a 5-digit number, this is a 6-digit number, this is a 4-digit number, this is a 6-digit number, this is a 5-digit number. Oops, sorry, that looks like an S. And then this is a 5-digit number as well. So your highest number of digits will tell you your highest score. So we have 2 candidates for the highest score based on the number of digits. So that's going to be Susan and Rita, sorry. But now what we have to do is compare the two. You'll notice that both the 100,000th place and the 10,000th place are the same. So they're not significant enough, or they're not different to allow us to see whose score was higher. So we have to go to the thousandth place, and then we'll see that 7 is higher than 4, so Susan got the highest score, because her value of 7 in the thousandth place represents 7,000, which is greater than Rita's 4 in the thousandth place, representing 4,000. So 7,000 is greater than 4,000. Okay, I'm actually going to highlight this really quick with the word digits. Okay, so who has the fewest points? And again, we can use kind of the same strategy. So this time what we can do is just look at the smallest digit number. So if we look at here, we see that 4 is our smallest number of digits in any person's score. So Jerome scored 9,059 points, but because there's no other 4-digit numbers to compare, his is automatically the lowest score because there's no 3 or 2-digit numbers or anything like that. So all the numbers are greater than his score on the notepad. So Jerome had the fewest points. Okay. Alright, now what we're going to do is, again, we're going to compare all of these scores with 2 individuals at a time, but what I want to do is just take a moment to quickly type in their scores. That way they're directly next to each other, then we can just use the inequality symbol instead of having to kind of refer to the notepad, which again, as this section kind of highlights, is they're not even lined up, so it's not doing us too many favors in trying to compare place values if we need to. So Susan scored 107,315. There's another Susan down here. Okay. Jerome scored 9,059. Okay. Robert scored 60,000. Rita scored 104,901. G scored 90,529. Amber scored 10,470. And if anyone has this name and I totally butchered it, I sincerely apologize. Okay, so now we'll directly compare each of the numbers, and again, it's a little easier because they're right next to each other versus in a notepad. So we kind of determined that Susan scored the most points, but again, this just highlights again, this is a 6-digit number, and Jerome's is a 4-digit number. So the higher digits number will automatically be larger if that case is present. So for B, Robert and G, or Jai, have both 5-digit numbers. So in this case, we need to look at place value specifically. In the 10,000th place, this will be enough for us to find the difference because they are different values. So G has 9 in the 10,000th place and Robert has 6. So G's score will be greater. Okay. Rita and Jerome, again, we have now a digit kind of comparison. So we have a 6-digit number for Rita and a 4-digit number for Jerome. So Rita will be the larger score. Amber and Rita, we have a 5-digit number for Amber and 6-digit number for Rita. So the 6-digit number will be greater than the 5-digit number. Jerome is a 4-digit number. G is a 5-digit number. So the 5-digit number will be greater than the 4. And then in this case, again, we kind of saw this a little earlier when we compared to find the largest score, but Susan and Rita both have, a 6-digit score. So we see that the 100,000th place is the same and the 10,000th place is the same. That's okay though. We just have to keep going down the placements till we find 2 numbers that are not the same. So in the 1000th place, we see that Susan has 7 and Rita has 4. So that will allow us to, so we had to go to the 1000th place to determine that Susan's score is larger because the 1000th place in her score is greater than Rita's because 7 is greater than 4. So now it says write each player's score in the order from greatest to least. Okay, so this is where we want to be a little careful too. We know that Susan scored the greatest number of points. Okay. And then we saw that the only other 6-digit number to compare it with in terms of the greatest value was Rita's score, and we had to go to the thousands place to determine that, because 4 in Rita's score in the thousands place is less than Susan's, which was 7 in the thousands place. Then what we can do, what I'll do as we're doing this one, is I will check them off as we put them in the boxes. So the next thing we have to do is find the next largest number. So all of our 6 digits are used up. So now we're looking at 5-digit numbers. So we have 90,000, 60,000, 90,529, 60,000, and 10,470. If we look at the 10,000s place, which is the highest place value for each of these, we have 9, 6, and 1. So G's score is going to be next because it is the next highest digit number, but the highest also in the 10,000s place. Okay, and the 10,000s place is the place value that we can stop at. That gives us enough information to see which numbers are greatest, middle, and least. So we actually just solved kind of 3 of the next parts of the question. So the next one, so the next score is G's score. Then the next one is going to be Robert's score, because if we look at the 10,000s place between Robert and Amber, who are left, we have Robert's score will be greater than Amber's score. And although we kind of figured out that Jerome's score was the lowest, it would make sense that his would be the least, but it also is the number that is the lowest number of digits. So it just kind of confirms our other choices, as long as we follow the same path to get to his score as well. So we used up everybody's score here. So we have Susan with the highest, then Rita, G, Robert. Oops, I put these in the wrong order. Sorry about that, guys. It's supposed to go in this direction. Sorry about that. So G, and then Robert. Oops. And then Amber and Jerome. Okay. Alright, and then we'll look at the step ahead question. So it says Patricia has more points than both Ben and Amy. Okay, so Matthew has more points than Amy, but fewer points than Ben. Who has the lowest score? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of order this as I read it. So Patricia is greater than both Ben and Amy. Okay, so I don't have any information in terms of comparing the scores of Ben and Amy. I just know that Patricia has more points than both Ben and Amy. So right now she has the greatest score. It says Matthew has more points than Amy, but fewer points than Ben. Okay, so Matthew has more points than Amy, but fewer points than Ben. Okay, so what this tells me is a couple of things. The first thing it tells me is that Matthew has a score that is greater than Amy's, but it's not as high as Ben's. So that's going to allow me to put Matthew in the middle between Ben and Amy. Okay, the reason for that is originally I didn't know Ben and Amy's scores, like in comparison those two individuals, but Matthew's score placement being less than Ben's but more than Amy tells me that he's in the middle of those two. Okay, so that allows me to actually solve the problem right then and there by having all of Matthew's information, because he answers the question of who has more points, Ben or Amy, by being in the middle of the two. Okay, so the person with the lowest amount of points is Amy. Okay, so Patricia had the highest score because her point value was greater than Ben and Amy's. And then Ben has a greater score than Matthew's because it says that Matthew has fewer points than Ben. And then Matthew, it says, also has more points than Amy. So his score is greater than Amy's. So that allows us to determine that Amy is the one with the lowest score. Okay. Alright guys, as always, if you have any questions about any of the material in this lesson or any of the strategies that we used, again, just kind of summing everything up with multi-digit numbers, and you're comparing numbers that are not all the same number of digits. The highest number digit will always take precedence over lower number of digits. So a 6-digit number will always be higher than a 4-digit number, and vice versa. If you have a 4-digit number, it will always be less than a 6-digit number. Okay, so keeping that in mind, and then just being able to, when we have the same number of digits that we're comparing between two numbers, looking at the place value is our ability to be more specific and really zone in on which place value separates the two numbers. Okay, you always want to start with the greatest place value, but if it's the same, you kind of can go down towards the smaller place values until you find two place value where the two numbers or digits are different. Alright, but as always guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Bye.